Welcome to the Create with Katrina Julia show by Fit Life Creation, where we talk all the things on wellness, faith, marketing, business, and travel to create a life and business you love. I've been there, friend. I've walked from fear to faith, self-hate to love, corporate to calling, and bondage to freedom, along with transformation in every area of my life. I'm right here with you, walking along on my own path to creating. So tune in so that you learn how to create a life and business you love, hands-on. Let's create it. The Create It Online Summit is open now for a free preview. Here's to CEOs who crave creating community and cash. You will love this free preview where I give you sneak peeks into workshops, behind the scenes, tips, tools, and tech with faith, wellness, marketing, business, travel, and communities for a true binge-worthy experience to create it like a boss. Click the link in bio to register now. It's okay to not be okay. Exploring therapy, EMDR, EFT, benefits, explanation, and costs. I am the first to tell you I have been through therapy on 3 different occasions. Once during college for about a year, a second time in 2010 for a year with a counseling and Christian center next to Mount Perrin Church, and then a third time at the same center circa 2016, 2017, where I also did EMDR, and I am an avid proponent of EFT. But first, you may be wondering, okay, Katrina, WTF are all these different, what are some of these things, or what are all these different things? So in our journey towards transformation, and if you've tuned in with me in the past, you know that I often say transformation is required to create a life and business we love. And in fact, I have a blog and a show all about that, along with highlights of my story. But today we're focusing on all of this and that it's okay to not be okay. And first, I want to say also that I am not a mental health care professional. And if you feel the need for, various reasons of alignment, functionality, mental health care, well-being, then I encourage you to seek the help of a professional counselor. If you feel like it is serious, I absolutely encourage you and invite you to contact your local or national or global suicide hotline, because I am quite aware that a lot of these figures and numbers are on the rise, especially in a post-pandemic world. And I don't want to make light of anything you are going through or have gone through, because Lord knows the more we live, the more we live. Literally, the more we live, the more we live, meaning this human experience is not easy. And many of us are walking through or living or have lived lives we did not imagine, often in wonderful and amazing ways, but in some areas of our life, not amazing ways, and walking through circumstances or challenges that affect us and or others is never easy in any area of life, whether it is in our mental state, whether it is with our health, whether it is with business, with finances, with community and relationships. I mean, the list goes on. And Lord knows I am very grateful for a lot of my transformation. But there's also things that I'm walking through on timing, on finances, on relationships, on seasons, and being comfortable with the unknown, that is very, very challenging as well. And then I'm also a big proponent of being self-aware and getting help where help is due. So I want to encourage you to consider all of those things. So among these, and in our journey, various therapeutic approaches have emerged as powerful tools for healing and personal growth. And if you've tuned in with me in the past, or even if you haven't, I'm, of course, a huge proponent of personal growth, of prayer, of journaling, of reading incredible books. I'm right now in reading a inner child workbook. I'm halfway through and doing the exercises. And then I also am going through 100 days right now of believing bigger. Start each day daring to believe God for the impossible by Marshawn Evans Daniels. At the same time, I'm a big proponent of getting help when help is needed in any area of life, and especially in mental health. So, let's get into the explanations, benefits, costs, and results of therapy, of EMDR. And some of you may be hearing it for the first time in that acronym, and EFT, and giving you some valuable insights to make informed decisions about your own mental and emotional healing journey. So, therapy, guided healing and growth. Therapy may involve a multitude of benefits, from improved self awareness, enhanced coping skills and personal growth, improved mental capacity and problem solving, better emotional well being and responses. Communication can be radically improved. And what I love about therapy is that it's a third party that, yes, has their own experiences, but they're also trained to look at different, aspects as objectively as possible and remove bias. Because oftentimes, sometimes when we talk to people that are the closest to us, they may have inherent bias, and or things may be affecting them in different ways, not intentionally, that you didn't ever intend for it to, or they have their own fears, doubts, insecurities, and different belief systems. Therapy provides a safe space for people to explore their emotions, their thoughts, their behaviors, ultimately leading to a deeper understanding of oneself. Many people experience and share reduced anxiety, depression, and stress through therapy, and getting off of medications, although of course that is not a guarantee, depending on what your own or others own circumstances or symptoms are. It may also help individuals navigate life challenges, whether it's relationship, health, financial, community, business, career, etc., and transitions, as well as trauma. And speaking of trauma, when I was going through therapy in 2010, and then later when I was taking a course, the Smart Business course with Shailene Johnson, she talked about EMDR. So that is actually how I first heard about EMDR. Is Shailene was sharing avidly and openly about her own journey and transformation, and having experienced and gone through EMDR. And so I want to commend her as a entrepreneur, as a leader, as a recognized professional in a number of wellness and entrepreneurial spaces, for sharing openly and vulnerably about her own journey with EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Let me repeat that: eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And it's all about rewiring trauma responses. And so for me, I was avidly praying about it and wanted to experience EMDR also with a Christian and biblical counselor. And let me preface that to say that someone that is very grounded in the things of God's word and scripture, but is also very practical and is also focused on being very graceful and loving and unconditional and non judgmental. Because me, like all of us, have experienced that with people of faith and people that don't have faith. That is the human experience slash human travesty that, some people, and often all of us, in some situations or circumstances, we have our own bias, our own thoughts, our own understanding or lack of understanding, or even sometimes just not being self-aware enough to know that, an action or a reaction or a comment can sometimes be perceived. And that's why, oftentimes when I'm communicating, especially with people I've just met, or even, and this is something I learned, or even people that I've known, is like, please know, like, I'm human. Please know you can take a piece of this or leave, this. And please know, like, I am sharing this not of a space of judgment, but to help. So when I found Larissa, who is a licensed, therapist and counselor and specializes in EMDR, it literally felt like such a supernatural gift. So just to give you some explanation beyond on EMDR, EMDR has shown remarkable results in treating post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and trauma-related experiences through guided eye movements or bilateral stimulation. Individuals may reprocess traumatic memories and reduce associated distress. So, literally, like, there's different ways you can do or practice EMDR. And I felt very strongly that I wanted to do it in the guidance of a therapist. And I know not everyone may be able to do that right now, but I encourage you, depending on your own circumstances, whether it's therapy, EMDR, EFT, look at your finances in depth, look at different things, and look at alternative solutions. You can also Google. I recently discovered, so the first time I did EMDR, I did it with Larissa and in the guidance of, um, a therapist. And side note, you can also read all about it. New York Times did a detailed dive into EMDR in an article on September 20th, 2022, which you can dive into as well. And there is, speaking of, and also EMDR has an international association. It is a structured therapy. It's EMDRIA.org, just to give you some more resources. And recently, so right now, I am not in therapy at this moment. I am going through an inner child workbook that I found on Amazon, that is avidly shifting things. I am praying. I've gone through 3 different fasts this year already. And then I did discover virtual EMDR. So, like I said before, I went through, face to face with a counselor. But I did discover virtual EMDR.com, which appears, I haven't started with them yet, appears to be very, very reputable. And they do give you a few days trial. So I will be exploring that in July. So I'll definitely probably share about it with you coming up. And just so you know too, just from a side note, and again, this is not sponsored yet, but over 25,000 plus virtual EMDR people people that have taken EMDR via their site have shared that their emotional distress decreased from 8 to 5 points with just one virtual EMDR session. And because it helps you really get to a deep place in your mind. And from my own experiences, I can share with you that she went through EMDR with me on some past family trauma with things that were said to me or things that I believed as a result of different experiences, and also in connection with an abusive relationship I had in my late teens and early 20s, which it literally was like those past beliefs and words I had accepted them as truth and what I believed about myself, and then in a sense attracted and or manifested that type of relationship in my life. And then a series of decisions that I like, thankfully after that, always my relationships were better and better and better and never abusive, not in the physical sense and not really so much in the emotional. More it was from an aspect of humans being humans and us rubbing each other the wrong way, so to speak. But when I went through EMDR, it really, really helped me dive deep. And literally, it's like you're going back in time as you now and reprocessing those things and reprocessing those memories and reprocessing those feelings and energies and trapped emotions. And it is very, very, very powerful, which is, at least it was for me, which is why I advocate, at least the first time, going through it with a therapist, especially. And again, the virtual EMDR, you are also in the guidance of, a therapist. But in that case, I really felt like I wanted to do it with someone face to face. And I can tell you, after several of, like, most of my sessions, I knew well enough to know in my soul and my spirit that I needed to carve out 2 to 3 hours after and clear out the rest of my evening. Like, I was typically going twice a month. And literally, that's what would happen. A lot of times I would feel so drained, and I would go to the park and cry and journal, and I would just feel so emotionally exhausted. So it facilitates a shift. EMDR facilitates a shift in perspective and allowing the individuals to heal and release from past traumas and develop adaptive coping mechanisms. There's a lot of studies that I noticed back to EMDR being especially effective with PTSD with vets. The notable outcomes of EMDR includes reduced emotional reactivity, improved self-esteem, and a sense of empowerment. And as far as costs, with therapy or, eye movement desensitization or reprocessing or EMDR, costs may vary. Your insurance may cover that. So I would definitely encourage you to explore that. Also, different counselors. Another book that I read this year is by Deborah Fileta, which is a licensed counselor, but also with a Christian focus. And she has incredible resources and also a therapist on her site that you can explore and navigate virtually. They don't take insurance. Then a lot of mental health care facilities or providers or counseling centers do offer financial solutions for financial hardship. And when I was going through therapy and EMDR, I did put in for that and I qualified. So I think I paid at the time somewhere between $40 to $80 a session, because I think it changed later, but I think the first time it was 40 and I think later it was 60, I believe, but don't quote me on that. And again, that may be different depending on where you live, depending on who you choose as your professional, and then what type of services you choose. Like, just to give you a glance as of this recording, the EMDR, they give you a free 3-day trial that you can start immediately and you get unlimited access. And they also have a YouTube channel that you can check out. And again, I am not sponsored yet. I haven't tried them yet, but this is just one that I found recently. They do have free diagnostic tests on their website, over 10 of them, I believe, from PTSD to self-esteem to anger to addiction, sexual addiction, substance addiction, anxiety, etc. And then their pricing is listed on their site. Here it is. So one therapy session a month, and again, this is as of this recording, or less than one therapy session 1 month, is $69, and that's reduced from $199. Then 3 months, it's less than $150 a month. It's 3 months unlimited access to virtual EMDR, and these are both self-guided. So that's the difference between, like, on these, you're not doing them with a therapist. And then there's 6 months in coaching, which is $300. And if you think about it, if I was spending, say, $120 a month, then I was spending $360, and then this is for 3 months versus this is so that would have been $360 times 2, $720 for 6 months versus the 6 months here for coaching and unlimited access to virtual plus a bonus coaching session is $300. So that gives you, just some different points of comparison and just an idea, right? Then EFT. So, emotional freedom technique and tapping into emotional balance. So, years ago, I heard about EFT and I had done it occasionally. And then I started diving in deep into studies, into articles, and also finding out that EFT has been known to produce significant results in managing emotional issues and releasing trauma and energy as well, and rewiring your neural pathways. So I'm a huge believer of Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so you may test and approve God's good, perfect, and pleasing will. And so I had learned about it years ago, and I had done it from time to time, but never consistently until about probably 2021. I got more consistent, but not maybe like a couple times a month. Then last year, especially towards the last quarter, I started getting even more consistent. And then this year in 2023, I've been very consistent. I would say easily completing EFT on my own 20 to 30 times a month, if not more. Because sometimes I'll do 2 to 3 like sessions. Like in a day. Like yesterday when I was at Jeju sauna, I did like 3, on my own, just sitting in the sauna. So it's basically you're tapping on specific acupressure points on your face and on your upper body while focusing on emotional challenges. So how EFT, and I encourage you to look at different EFT videos online. For example, one of the ones I avidly watch and am guided by is Cassandra Bodzak. So she has several EFT on her YouTube channel. If you Google Melanie and EFT and YouTube, she's based in the UK. I also follow along hers. And then Debbie, she doesn't, I don't believe, I could be wrong, but I don't believe she has a YouTube channel. But Debbie shares in our We Team, our Women Entrepreneur Network, and I've been to several of her Zoom sessions as well. So, for example, you typically start off in EFTs. I'm going to give you a brief overview, but again, a video will show you a lot more. You typically start off by tapping on the karate chop, which is like the outer part of your hand below your pinky. And you'll say something like, even like your negative belief that you're in essence desiring to shift the emotion and the belief around it. So, for example, if you're struggling with finances and you're struggling with worth and your trauma connected to finances, you might start off, and that's the focus that you have. You might start off with, even though I feel chaos and clutter and overwhelm and fear and shame and guilt around my finances right now, I still fully love, honor, accept, and forgive myself. And then you repeat that, or you repeat a similar type statement, whatever comes to your spirit, soul, mind, and heart, 2 different times on the karate chop. And I've recently also added in God, because sometimes, like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. Like, I feel like, yes, we have free will. And yes, like, we are guided and led, and yes, we're influenced by our families and culture and this and that. But sometimes I'm like, God, why did you let me do this or do that and lead to have these choices or lead to these circumstances in different ways, right? And then when you finish those 3, and part of it is intentionality around the session and prayer, and part of it is also um deep, I believe, like deep breaths to really fully realize what's happening, but also release it. Then typically, and some people do EFT in different ways, and I've taken a certification course on it, on, I think it was on Udemy or on Skillshare. And then, like I said, the other practitioners I mentioned. And it is something you can also do in person, as a side note. And then typically you go above the head, and some people use one hand and some people use the other. And it's you're basically like where your forehead is, but on where your hair is, and then, tapping with 1 or 2 hands. And then you might say something like, it just feels so overwhelming with the finances. It feels like things aren't shifting no matter what I do. And then you'll typically go above the eyebrow. And you might say something like, it's all these bills just have me feeling so overwhelmed and I just don't know what to do. And then you'll go to the next like acupressure point is on the side of your eye. And some people use one hand, some people use both hands on each side of each eye. And then you might say something like, it feels like no matter what I do or all this effort that I'm putting forth, nothing changes. But then there's always like but or like a shift in perspective. And then like let's say at that point I go under the eye, like on the top of the like at the bottom of the eye socket, but under the eye. But I am choosing to see things differently. What if this is all to help me? And then you'll go under the nose. And then you might say something like, what if this is all designed to help me learn everything there is to learn about finances, to have such empathy for others? What if this is designed to help me get an incredible education on discipline, on alignment, on stewardship, on humility, and then you might shift. And then as you say that next statement, you're shifting under the lip. That's your next point. And then at your collarbone. And then you might say, I am choosing to see abundance everywhere. And then you go under the arm, like on the bra kind of line for us ladies. And then you might say something like, I am attracting abundance in all ways, shapes, and forms. And then you're back on the top of the head. I am magnetizing money. And then back on above the eyebrow, I am paid to be me, and people love to pay me. And the thing is, and you keep going through the same different points, and in the beginning it's good to go through a course like I did, or it's good to follow along with others and to get ideas and to get inspired, especially at the different moments where like you've prayed or you're doing EFT but you're just like spent, right, energetically. But then I believe there comes a shift where you are also doing a lot on your own. So I'm basically at a hybrid point where I'm following wealthconsciousmovement.com. So you can Google Pitbull EFT Marguerite or Pitbull EFTs Marguerite on YouTube. Just Pitbulls and EFT will find it. She's amazing. She has tons of EFT sessions on her YouTube channel. She's the one that I've probably followed the most. So I follow Cassandra first, then I transitioned to Melanie, and I still do both of them sometimes. But right now I do mostly the Pitbull YouTube channel, Marguerite, and then myself, where just like I was walking you through just statements I was coming up with in my spirit and soul right now, that I call upon the Holy Spirit, I call on my spirit to basically tell me what it is that I'm thinking or believing about my worthiness, about my identity, and what I am feeling called to shift. Like yesterday, I did 2 or 3 on my own, but I'm also walking through Pitbulls are Marguerite's EFT. She has wealthconsciousmovement.com, I think it is. Hold on. Yes, wealthconsciousmovement.com /21 days. Wealthconsciousmovement.com, and then you'll find several things on there. Like she has 21 days tapping into abundance. She has tapping, into $100,000 months. Several different things that you can find and access once you subscribe. Like her resources are amazing. And I just love the spirit behind it and just the progression of it as well. So that gives you some more, insight into EFT resources as well as how I am using it. So therapy, EMDR, and EFT are powerful approaches that offer transformation for healing and growth. Therapy may provide a supportive environment for self-exploration and well-being. EMDR may target trauma, facilitate reprocessing, and foster resilience. And EFT may help harness the power of acupressure to restore thinking and emotional balance and alleviate distress. Each modality offers different advantages and may yield remarkable results. Whether you are considering therapy, EMDR, EFT, or all three, depending on where you are in your journey. It is important to consult whatever you choose to consult. Like I always pray, but also consult with different professionals that may guide you through the process and tailor the approach to your needs. Just like I prayed about therapy, I prayed about EMDR, about EFT. While costs may vary, investing in yourself and in your emotional well-being is priceless and will pay dividends for decades to come. Embrace different modalities, unlock your healing, and embrace your own journey of transformation. Remember, you have the power to transform your life and create a future beyond what you imagine, filled with peace and fulfillment. I would love it if you leave a review on the show. Shout me out on social media with whatever resonates, whatever you decided to apply, and how you choose to create it from this episode. Leave a review so I can shout you out and so others can learn even more about the show. Create it like a boss. And as always, friends, remember, create, transform, and inspire. You are born to.
And chats on faith, wellness, money, marketing, business, and travel, so you create a life and business. Haven't already, head on over to the blog, the podcast, and the freebies to jumpstart your transformation. If you're ready to dive into the online courses, the live events, or the retreat, and if you want to create with our community on an even deeper level, definitely check out our internships, our influencer collaborations, management, and brand engagement. Let's create it.